Hi, I'm Hannah Wallace and welcome to FinextraTV. Kindly calling in to talk about open APIs for financial services is Alfonso Navío, EMEA FSI Business Strategist at RedHat. So, Alfonso, welcome. Thank you very much for calling in.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for counting on us, with this interview.
No problem. It's really good to have you on. So, yes, today we're speaking about what makes a successful open API strategy, some of the common mistakes financial institutions are making in the space, and also how you envisage API developing and being used in the future. But before we do, I think it's a good idea and worth setting the scene for our audience and touching on where we're up to in the evolution of open APIs today and also how far we've come. So let's start there.
Thank you. So, open APIs have been pushed by regulation, first of all, mainly, the PSD2 open banking regulation coming from the EU. However, what we've seen, across the world, across the different countries, is there's been a push of innovation on top of this compliance exercise. Even in regions with no regulatory framework, like, for example, the US, to name one of the most important markets, we are seeing a market-driven approach to open API. And then again, the regulation only, tells you about the account aggregation and payment initiation open APIs through third parties. But, whether it's comparing shopping for cars or housing in the retail market context or, even managing liquidity better, for SMEs, we're seeing a sprawl of digital services, that are coming forward with this innovation in basically all segments of the value chain of financial services. You name it: consumer lending, asset management, insurance, wealth management, even corporate banking. And of course payments. Which is where this regulation started. So what we are seeing is that banks are breaking down their monolithic legacy applications. So this is more than APIs. This is a complete digital transformation to create this culture that fosters innovation. According to recent analyst studies, we are seeing that 83% of banks already view open APIs as a way to modernize their legacies, improve customer experiences, of course, address compliance, and most important, break into new business models. So that's where we are today in terms of the open APIs in the industry.
All right, that's interesting. So let's home in now on API-driven open banking strategies then. What do you think are the key elements for a successful open banking API strategy? What about that?
Thank you. That's a very interesting question. So what we are seeing is that nowadays in the financial services industry, the IT infrastructure is determining your business success, which is quite a novelty. So it's, of course, not only you need open APIs, definitely, but you also need a container platform that will simplify your application and API deployment, increasing your time to market for new products and services. This will also eliminate, your need to rewrite all the applications every time you change the IT environment. So that's key, to have this container platform. Of course, you also need to leverage your ecosystem because, open APIs means you have to be open, and connect with other partners. So it's critical, to have an API management solution in order to manage, secure, and monetize your APIs. And last but not least, you definitely need to adopt a talent shift in terms of adopting new ways of working to attract and retain top talent, adopting new agile culture in terms of DevOps, CI, CD, so that, your applications come to life in weeks rather than months. And anyway, if you want to know more, we from RedHat have published recently a free book called Open APIs for Dummies in Financial Services with a lot of elaboration on what your API strategy should be. Thank you.
All right, so that leads me quite nicely into my next question then, because it's worth talking about the challenges. So what are the pitfalls for financial institutions then, and why have so many got it wrong up to this point? And also, what advice would you give to them going forward? What about that?
Yeah, that's definitely a very, very interesting question as well. So, what we saw when this whole thing started, mainly in the UK, the UK was the first country in the world to launch the open banking regulation back in 2018. And what we saw there was that 6 out of the 9 biggest UK banks systematically missed all the government deadlines, to open their APIs. So you probably know that quote that says it takes a village to raise a child. We could definitely say the same thing about open APIs. So it's not only a technical exercise, which of course it is, a technical exercise, but you should definitely involve the business, in the first moment. Business and IT should be definitely aligned. Our recommendation, and following up with this quote, that it really takes the whole bank, to open your APIs, you would need, first and foremost, your product executives, making a solid business case. Risk and compliance professionals should be involved as well, because obviously you're opening up information about your clients to third parties. That involves risks that need to be managed, since the earliest stages. Architects, will fulfill the requirements. All your partner communities, you need to establish those connections. And, of course, the engineers, are those doing the heavy lifting, when it comes to the technical side of open API. So it's definitely a teamwork, and, business and IT should be super aligned since the beginning.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Some very good advice there. And I also liked your analogy. So that leads me into my final question then, the crystal ball question, as it were, sort of looking into the future. What does it hold for open APIs in financial services? What's the outlook?
Well, yeah, we certainly are missing the crystal ball, but we've got our thoughts, about how, open APIs are transforming all the strategy of the banks, and it's all around this API ecosystem. So the main banks, we are seeing that they're adopting, this open API strategy as a core component of all their digital overall strategy. Even in terms of the regulation, we are seeing already this evolution with open finance, as the next step in this open banking journey. So it all started with payments, account aggregation. We are seeing basically the entire financial footprint, of the customers, like mortgages, savings, pensions, insurance, even consumer credit, being opened up to those third parties. Mm-hmm. So at the end of the day, banks will need to offer best of breed customer experiences, combining, their digital services with those offered by multiple other companies. And that's definitely a radical impact in the banking industry. Mainly because banks have been used to deliver this product-centric distribution. My product, my customer, I just distribute. And this involves setting up your strategy around your API ecosystem, delivering not only financial services, but mainly all kinds of amazing customer experiences in order to keep the customer relationship.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I think it's safe to say, watch this space. Some exciting developments ahead then. So Alfonso, we'll leave it there. Thanks so much for calling in and sharing your insights today. It's been very informative and interesting. Thank you.
Thank you very much.